Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Krishna.
Aloha, everyone.
So, we want to talk about heart loss, and what was the other one?
Heart loss and what were we talking about? At 11:11. Oh, okay. Vulnerability.
Oh, vulnerability. Vulnerable ability. Vulnerability is an ability. A lot of people think of it as a weakness, and the reason why we think of it as a weakness is because our ego wants to judge vulnerability because we draw on it during weak times. Why do we draw it on weak times? Because it's a superpower.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges, there's going to be many during this, one of the challenges is I want you to draw from vulnerability in good times, in bad times, in just okay times. And then that's when you truly start to see it's a superpower. Because a lot of us, it's like the analogy of the thermostat. There's a lot of people going online saying, would you be a thermostat, don't be a thermometer. Thermometer just tells the temperature of the room. A thermostat is able to shift and take it. But the thermostat only has a range. So if it gets too cold, it'll kick on the heat. Gets too hot, it'll put on the air conditioning. But you still only have a range.
Right.
How do we break past that glass ceiling?
Yeah.
Because everybody's tolerating some bullshit. And a lot of times when we fall in love, then our heart gets broken. And then every time your heart gets broken, it expands. So that vulnerability that appears to be a weakness, and maybe it's making you aware of a weakness that we have within, so we can become stronger and we can tap into that superpower that's always living inside of us.
Yeah, for sure. I'm ruminating on this very profound statement you just made around like this idea of love or being in love, for instance.
Profound, look at that.
And how every time we get it broken, it expands. And I'm thinking of like the snake, because we're in the Chinese zodiac, we're in this year of the snake, right? And this idea of like shedding your skin, right? You like break free and you get to be like a new version of you. But I would imagine that breaking free probably doesn't feel like the best always. Like there's probably some levels of discomfort. And I'm just thinking about my own experiences with heartbreak and that imprint that it leaves. And when we focus on just the breaking part, we're missing like the fullness of what's possible. Yeah.
For sure. Why? I look at it like this. It's and I don't think I originally came. I originally came to this determination by myself, but I'm sure there's 1,000 people all over the world, or 10,000 people, or 100,000 people that came to the same determination. It's like a GPS, a God positioning satellite. So we live in San Diego. Say we're gonna drive to LA. So we make a wrong turn, then the GPS recalculates a new turn. We go on a wrong freeway and go this way, or we say we have to go over there. So what that God positioning satellite is telling us, the GPS, that's a global positioning satellite, but our God positioning satellite, or our intuition, is telling us, you need to go over there and learn this over here. So when you get to your final destination, which will be not your final destination, when you get to your final destination, you'll have the tool, the gift, the lesson, the win that will help you come over here. So say you want to be a CEO of your company, and you want to have this company that's going to change the world. You might have had to go on a little detour, which in French means the tour. You have to go on your detour to come over here to learn this. So maybe you need to learn self-esteem, confidence. You need to learn how to lead people. So when you get to your final destination, it will run smoother. That's why humility, vulnerability, because we're letting those tools seep into our nervous system. Have you heard the phrase of like you're at the top of your 100-foot pole?
No.
So, I think it's from, I don't know what tradition, but you're at the top of your 100-foot pole. And if you're at the top of your 100-foot pole, you can't go any further. So you have to fall down and collapse to make it to the top. Because say if I was still in high school, I would be running that motherfucker like crazy. I would be like, everybody would be wearing the same clothes, but you're like, dude, you've been in high school for 40 years. It's time to get off your 100-foot post situation.
Yeah.
Beating up parents and shit.
Yeah.
Your son was talking shit to me. I can't hit your son, so I'm gonna beat you up. So a lot of times, have you ever heard the phrase "big fish in a small pond"?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot of times if we want to go over to our next goal, we have to let go of the last step.
Yeah.
And that takes vulnerability.
Yeah.
And sometimes we intend it, and then everything collapses. So in Southern California, the people that are having fires and having a lot of times, they just got in a bad situation that their house burned down. Some, that could be a serious blessing in disguise.
For sure, it's part of that GPS.
Yeah,
that you
for
just
sure,
mentioned.
100%.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah.
So, what are some tools that you use to tap into that heart of being able to love the world and being vulnerable to love the world, even though the world's not perfect?
Yeah.
To be of service to people that probably don't even appreciate you.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me personally, the most simplistic thing that I like to practice is like staying in the truth of my inner being, which is the love frequency. Sometimes it's really challenging to feel that love if maybe you're going through something challenging, or you see some injustice in the world, or whatever that might be. And that's where compassion comes in, you know. Like, I have compassion for myself that I'm in this moment, you know, compassion for self first. And then it allows for that seeping in to be compassionate for others and circumstance that might be occurring in the world. Because that old saying, hurt people, you know, there's that perpetual loop. So if I'm hurting, I have to be aware and be compassionate with myself around what is my true experience, you know. And I feel like that's, like, as the most base foundation, how I try my best to live in the world. And I'll be vulnerable and share with you. Sometimes it's freaking hard. It is very challenging sometimes, you know, just, again, depending on the circumstance. Recently, I'd been having some, like, in my grieving process, I've been having some, like, memories of, like, people have done me wrong. Maybe it's Mercury retrograde. I have no idea, but I've been, like, having unpleasant dreams and just...
Are these things that you've already resolved?
Or
pretty much. Yeah.
I thought I resolved.
Yeah.
I resolved.
Those are coming over me too.
I'm like, why am I thinking about this? I don't give a fuck about that. But clearly, something needed to be processed, and so, like, just practicing that compassion piece of, like, okay, this thing is coming up for a reason. Maybe it's that 100-foot pole thing, where I'm needing to break through something. And in that compassionate practice or approach, I like to be really thoughtful about sitting with myself or giving myself that time to be with myself. And have learned over time the spaces, like the physical environment that helps me be able to just be with myself. So there's something about the water that was extremely purifying and healing for me. So when I'm having those moments, I'll go take myself to the beach or to some water source. And even if I don't have access to like a river or lake or an ocean, I'll go get in the shower or get in the bath, you know, and have that moment with the water to clear and purify my thoughts, so that whatever is coming to the surface can be at least tangible for me to grab onto, so that if it requires me to reflect about it, meditate on it, I can do so. And if it's something that just needs to be washed away, it can also, you know, with that water element, can do that. So the water is very healing in that way. But yeah, just really thinking about how can I be with myself to allow time to process whatever's coming up. And for me, I wind up uncovering that my own inner child wounds around feeling unsafe, that adults can't keep me safe, and that they're not trustworthy, or that I need to be cautious about other people's intentions, came up. And so all the other memories about things that happened in my life, it wasn't really about those people. It was about the inner me and the wound of the child that my higher self needed me to see that. Needed me to see that, to see where I've grown, but also where I continue to grieve that inner child and the things that were very heartbreaking as a child.